But I started this morning thinking I had made an error. Turns out I was mistaken. Look at that. Raspberries. Where'd you get these, Rosie?
My friend Kai.
Kai's berries. Ooh, that makes you a picker or a gleaner?
I don't know.
Did you get them off the bush?
Yes.
Then you're a picker. Just had those wonderful berry waffles. Compliments of Kai. Kai's Rose's friend. Her and her husband are retired as well. I'll have to perhaps do an interview with them, but here's a shout out, Kai. Thank you for the berries. I like this time of year, berry season, between the raspberries and the strawberries and the blackberries. It adds some real flavor to breakfast. But I started this morning thinking I had made an error. Turns out I was mistaken. Not for a lack of trying. I realized I had left my phone out at the packing table yesterday after packing up the sold items. And when I went and recovered it, I was thinking, oh yeah, I got some old photos I need to delete. So I emptied the video file into the trash and then hit delete to keep the memory managed on the phone. And then I went, oh crap. If the phone was sitting at the packing bench, I probably just deleted the video about packing those items. Well, I got lucky because there's an extra step if I'm using this non-stop app program. You have to actually get it out of that app and into the phone. So luckily it wasn't done before I hit delete on all the videos. So I was able to recover the packing video, and I'll go ahead and probably put that up this afternoon. I've actually got several packing video clips stored, and I just haven't got to them on my list of all the videos I'd like to make. I think after this one, this packing video, I'll make one on the best reseller I ever met. That's a great story. I recorded it a couple weeks ago and just haven't got to it. But what's that purple monkey up to today? Well, the purple monkey's got to go over to Agate and start pulling some surplus items to get another group of items ready to go to auction, going out to consignment auction. That's on a 2-week cycle, so every couple of weeks I take a few days and I collect things that are either too large or not suitable for eBay, or that don't have an individual value, so they go into making up lots, boxes or flats of like items or random items, and go out and get sold for whatever the local market can bear. Now, the typical trend for auctions, and this is probably true of both online auctions and all the years we worked with an auction company doing in-person local auctions, is that once graduation time comes around for the students and vacation time, which coincides with graduation, the trend is down a little bit for the interest people have in auctions. When they were in-person auctions, the crowd just isn't as big. Online, it's easy to get distracted. At the typical closing time for auctions around 6, 7 at night local, people are still outside because the weather's nice. They're out enjoying those outside activities. Maybe they're going to a concert. They're on vacation. They're doing a graduation party or attending some other celebration, a wedding. So the trend typically is sales are down during those good summer months. Now, we know what that is here in the States. Luckily, eBay being an international market, you might still be able to sell something overseas, say to Australia, because their seasons run the opposite of ours. That's one of the reasons we list all year round. We don't say, we're not going to put Christmas items up that just came in because it's July. We don't worry about it. When they come up in the queue and it's their turn, they get listed. I do, however, try to bump forward seasonal items. Like a month ago, I collected all the loose weed whacker, grass trimmer heads, filters for lawn mowers, pulley belts for riding mowers, that type of thing. And I made sure that I brought all of those online so that they weren't sitting around, because there are some things that are seasonal and your market is just going to be paying more attention to them. So we're going to go over to Agate, start the process of this week's consignment auction by looking the shelves over there, because our goal is still to empty Agate and put it up on the market and sell it. Okay, so I'm over at Agate, going through the shelves, looking for items that are not suitable for eBay. And here's an example. Some old test equipment that came in from a storage auction clear out. Here's another one. This one's a regulated DC power supply. It's its weight and it's probably a little fragile, so I don't like shipping a lot of test equipment out through the mail. Sometimes I'll do it if I know it's good for parts or repair. But let's see what else I can find. Here's another good example. It's the King, an outdoor cooker package, still sealed in its box. Came to me from a local auction. It was a curated auction, and this one was just out of place, so I paid a couple of bucks for it. We put it up on Facebook, thinking it would be good leading up to the 4th and summer. No takers on Facebook, so we'll recover the space from the agate shelves and send it on its way to a local auction. Now here's a couple of rubber duckies. Inflatable swim float by Intech. Yeah, those were some surplus ones in the shed, so we pulled them out. Rosie's inflated them to check them, and I think she popped them up on Facebook real quick. But if they don't sell over the weekend, they will probably go to the auction as well. It's the right time of year. We've got about 12 lots into the truck, ready to go to auction, and I'll work some more tomorrow, which is Sunday, on getting that ready. Sun hit my tables though, so I decided it was time to come over and get some water. The purple monkey. So I don't get asked often about why my avatar on YouTube is a purple monkey, but I thought I'd relate it for a minute. Up until 7 weeks ago when I started this channel, the purple monkey would pop up as my avatar commenting on other people's channels. And over time, especially this last year or two, since COVID, we moved out to the lake and we've cut back a lot. I have more time to watch YouTube videos. The last 7 weeks, of course, I've been spending time creating videos instead of watching as many as I did. But I noticed my comments on other people's videos about their techniques, especially reselling videos, about what they were sourcing. My comments were getting longer. And a couple people said, you should really consider having a channel of your own. But I settled on the purple monkey years ago because I never want to take this too seriously. You should have a little fun, especially once you've retired. Every endeavor you engage in should have an element of fun, whether it be reselling or creating a YouTube channel. And there are a lot of stumbling blocks on a YouTube channel. I made a lot of mistakes already, and about deleting one of my videos isn't the first. Crashing an editing timeline after you've spent an hour on it, yeah, not a problem. I can manage that. So there are a lot of stumbling blocks, but the overall gist of it should be, if you're not enjoying it at this point in your life, don't do it. Or at least try not to do it. Limit it if you can. So the monkey is simply monkeying around, trying to enjoy yourself. The red hat, perpetually in my 40s and 50s, I always wore a cap. In fact, Tanya, my eldest, drew a caricature of me once for my business card, and in it shows me with a beard, glasses, and a hat. I'll have to include it on here. I no longer hand out the business card, but the art is interesting. That with a few strokes of a pen, you can project the image of something. And that was her image or perception of what I look like, I guess. And the fact that it was done in black and white means it's still applicable even though my red beard is gone. And I was always a maintenance guy. Yes, Rose and I have built a few houses and some barns for ourselves. I was never in the trades to make a living out of it. It was simply a skill set that I had and decided to put it to use as part of a transition. My personal feeling is people should, at least once in their life, build a dwelling for themselves, because it's kind of the ultimate in customizing your nest. It's like, what do you see for yourself if you could start from scratch and build something? And it's a complicated project, takes a lot of time, but I think it's well worth doing. So the monkey with the hat and the funny look on his face, yeah, I think that was an appropriate avatar for this point of my life. So you'll see the purple monkey pop up. I'm trying to include him on every thumbnail to collectively tie him in. And you will notice he's making less comments on other people's channels these days because he's busy. He's busy making videos. So whatever you're up to, try to enjoy your day. And we're going to go ahead. It's cooler this week. The temps have dropped back into the, I think 70s for the high. And then, like I say, in the morning while it's cool, we'll go back getting lots ready. Let's see, what are in among those? I got a whole collection of travel mugs and cups, like some Starbucks cups. Got some commercial ice making stuff that came to me, repair parts, came to me from one of the last estates we helped sell off. They've been sitting in storage for a couple years, and since we're clearing ag, it's time that stuff just simply got bulked out and gone. Coin mechs, repair parts, that type of thing for ice makers, commercial ice makers. I showed you the King cooker. That'll go. Rose found the inflatables. Those will go. Those are all time sensitive for getting them to go up this time of year. And it's interesting. Sometimes we'll take an item like that King cooker and we'll put it up on Facebook for a while and just see. And if it doesn't sell, then we've got an alternative to get the shelf space back. The inflatables, she wants to try them on Facebook since it's July, it's summer. But if they don't sell over the weekend, they'll go out to auction because we're trying to clear Agate of Agate's shelves so that we can then list the property over at Agate. There's more money tied up in Agate as a piece of real estate than there is left in my need for it because we've sold off the trucks and we've sold off the extra trailers. So they no longer need to park there. And we've cleared much of the inventory that was put in there when we came down from Seebeck, because that's what the buildings were used for. They were used to hold the overstock. As we moved out of Seebeck, one whole room in there was just filled with backstock. And since then, it's also been, say I have a case or a pallet of something, and I list them up on eBay, and they sell occasionally. Well, I don't need to keep that whole case here. It can stay at Agate. And then if I run out of my ready stock, once I sell one, I pick up another one. And I don't have to make a special trip over to Agate to get it just to fill the order. So some of that stuff has also been going to auction. Because if I got a case of it originally and it's a slow seller, I don't need to keep the whole inventory. I've made my money back. So I'll keep a few more since the listing is live, and I'll surplus the bulk out to someone else. So that's been clearing it down. I've also been going back through older test equipment that came to me as part of a storage unit buy. And you've seen me sell those parts. I sold a manual the other day and packed it. It was going out of the country, in fact. Well, the test equipment was used by the technicians at that company to make repairs. It wasn't the stuff they produced, but it was the stuff their people needed to test the equipment and to repair it, for the customers they had. And when they shut down the place, they shut down the bench techs, they shut down the repair parts, they shut it all down. And because they'd basically moved on to smaller digital components. And I think this office was tied into a Navy contract. So when the contract was shut down, the purpose for having this facility went. So as we talked about the other day with side hustles, sometimes what you do becomes obsolete and you've either got to retrain or find yourself a new skill or convert your old skill to a new skill. And that's a prime example. And in that closure, I ended up with 4 very large storage units full of their shelving, their equipment, their repair parts, their tech manuals, and the components they use to test their equipment. So yeah, it's been years and I've still been making a little money on that here and there. When I was finally done putting up little tiny resistors and transistors and components, but I ran an ad showing all the parts bins that were still left. It was about time we left Seebeck. And I said, I'm tired of holding on to this. I've made an awful lot of money on this. I put out an ad saying I've got a carload, a truckload of this equipment, and I want to bulk sell it off at one price. And he had a buddy who lived closer to me who was also into this equipment. And they made arrangements to drive over. And he was driving some sort of SUV. I don't remember what it was. We about stuffed that under the seats, in the passenger compartment, the cargo area, slipping individual. We were taking stuff out of boxes to put in another thin layer around everything else. And I sold it to him for one money, and away he went. And I stopped caring about trying to make, $10 off of a small bag of parts.